The Outsider is a play full of sharp turns, sharper dialogue, and a political system that runs mostly on panic. Today we're talking with Tara Makar, who is right in the middle of that beautifully orchestrated madness, helping turn mayhem into comedy at Farmington Players. Thank you so much for being here.
Oh, well, thank you for having me, Brian.
So you're currently in rehearsal, and this is kind of your final week before the show opens up this weekend. How are you feeling right now about the show?
Uh, I feel great. And I would be honest about that because I've been a part of many shows where there is a bit of panic. But this cast is just a well-oiled machine, and the crew too. And we've all been discussing about we could open tomorrow if we wanted to. We could. But that was a good run. So yeah, I'm feeling great about it.
That has to be such a great feeling that, you still have a week left before opening, and you're like, oh, we feel good and secure in this.
Yeah, because that is unusual in this time. There's usually set stuff that's not ready but this cast is so seasoned. The director, Tony Targan, is directing, and he's so great, along with our assistant director, Stefan Potter. But they have also been mentioning, man, people know their lines, and the comedic timing is all gelling, and yeah, so it's refreshing.
So for those who maybe aren't familiar with the story, what seems to be going on in The Outsider?
Okay, so The Outsider, not to be confused with The Outsiders.
Very
It's
different stories.
very different stories, so I don't want anyone to think, we still stay golden, but um, it is a comedy. It's kind of like a workplace comedy, but takes place in a governor's office. So it's got some political comedy in it. But it skewers politics and really celebrates democracy. But the setup is that Ned Newley, who is played by Dave Durham, who is just excellent in this, he's kind of become the accidental governor when some scandal hits the current governor. And so as LG, lieutenant governor, he is stepping up, and he's got the smarts, but he doesn't have the polish. And watching Dave play Ned with this nervous energy, and he's so lovable, and he's just trying his best to make people like him and come off as your average guy and the kind of guy you'd like to have a beer with, and it's just so funny. And anyways, it goes through where Mike Gingerella plays this political consultant who flies in from Boston, and he's a bigwig, and he's like, "You're perfect because you people think you're real, like you're so real." And so it goes through that, and th- we've got this kind of dim-witted temp secretary who comes in and just throws everything it really gums up the works, really. um and it's just it's just so funny, and I don't want people to be deterred that it's political, because honestly I would never do that to myself. I read this script, and this script made me feel good about our democracy, and made me feel hope. Yeah, I know it's some people feel like there's so much politics in their face today that they are like, why would I want to watch
Sure.
that again? But it is it it leaves me feeling so warm inside doing this show, and watching it also when I'm not on stage. And I've seen it so many times, and I'm still laughing at 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 things on stage that and I just think the audience will really love it.
I was gonna say, it's kind of, when you were describing it, it reminds me a little bit almost like a Parks and Rec, almost like, yes, it's in the government, but it's a little bit like it's more making fun of the things that are happening with inside of there.
It is exactly like that. It I was thinking, I'm like, people think politics, and and I have a little bit of an insider view. I was laughing about it, and why I love this script so much is my husband he's been a candidate, he's been a political consultant, he's been a chief of staff, and he's been a pollster, and those are 4 different characters in this show. So I'm very like in tune with these things, and I'm reading the script. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so real and timely and hilarious, and so it is. It's like people think politics, like inside Washington, is like House of Cards, but they really want it to be like a West Wing, but it's like Veep. It's like Veep, it's
Yes.
like Parks and Rec, and this show is kind of like The Office. It's like Parks and Rec, The Office, and Veep all blended into one.
I mean, those are some like immaculate vibes, truly, for like a show. Like you can laugh about it, like it's not like a heavy show about politics. It's like things are going wrong.
Right, right. It's more, yeah, like this workplace comedy, this,
Yeah.
so yeah, and it's, I, I think it's funny, and when I'm reading it, I think it's funny. I'm watching on stage, I'm like, but is it just me? Am I because of what I know or whatever? But we, recently had some some audience members come in, and so we could kind of hear for when you need to maybe pause for laughs and things like that. And in my scene, because I play a reporter where I'm interviewing the governor and inadvertently the secretary, but they were laughing through the entire thing. Like it was just like an underscore of laughter through the
Sure.
interview, and it felt really good. I was like, it is funny. Okay, everyone would find this funny.
You're nailing all the parts you're supposed to be nailing.
Right, right. I'm like, oh, that worked. Oh, that, and it. And reading the script, I thought it was funny, but the people on stage, I could not be luckier to be with some of these comedic geniuses because honestly, Kyle Phillips, he plays the chief of staff, and it's like, oh, I didn't even know that there was a laugh line in there, but the way he delivers it, is just funny. And same with Dave Durham, and Liz Tuminello plays the secretary, and she is crack up funny. Her delivery is great, her timing is great, and yes, it is. It's like Kyle's physical comedy is amazing, and it it's like, oh, I didn't even know that was a laugh line, and you made it
You
one,
found it, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's when you're with a good cast.
So you mentioned that you're playing a reporter. So who is your character and what is their personal narrative in the show?
Okay, my character is Rachel Parsons. She's she's like your local news anchor. She covers politics. She she has this idealistic view of what politics should be, but unfortunately, she's in this situation where she's she's just like she's not really allowed to be a reporter. She's just
Okay.
supposed to ask the softball questions. That's what her boss has told her to do because, favors are being made between the, governor's office and her local news station, and she hates it. And so she's mad at the chief of staff. Kyle Phillips plays that character. So him and I spar in that way because I think he's all part of the machine, and he's just like the truly also idealistic guy who just believes in his candidate and knows his candidate is smart and qualified and should be elected, and if everyone else could see that, and so we go through that where I like don't believe him, type thing, and think he's part of it, and it's been
That's be fun to
really
kind of
great.
spar with that.
Yes, yes. So that's been really fun to do. I like playing angry and ornery.
So even in farce, characters need a sense of truth. What do you feel is the most real about your character?
Oh, I feel like there's a lot of things real about her. I was reading it and I was like, I would say that. I would be upset by this. I would, she's I think she's a little mad at the man,
Sure.
I think it's like a lot of people as like this inside Washington game type thing that people feel is being played, and she wants no part of it, and she's just like she's been covering politics for 8 years in her state, and it's the first time in the governor's office for her, and she's just supposed to smile pretty for the camera and
Sure.
just ask the candidate, not any tough questions, just how does it feel kind of thing. Like, how's it
Sure.
been on your first day on the job? Like, you know, and
Boring, you know?
yeah, and so she goes through this inner turmoil of, does she do what her boss says and lose her job, or does she follow along? I think that's very real. I think people, because authenticity is expensive, as
Sure.
Tina Fey would say. Yeah, it's like you want to be real, and some people don't like that. And what, which choice are you going to make,
For sure, absolutely. So then how do you approach developing a character when it is in such like exaggerated comedic world like this one?
I I try to take things from my own life, and the way
Sure.
I would say certain things in my own life, and that's what really attracted me to this character, is that I felt like I've had these conversations with people, arguing about political policy, things like that. And so I'm very sarcastic in my own life, and they just try to, um how would I say this line if I were, if
Sure.
this, and oftentimes it is something I've said before, like, you're the only person who works for the guy, and
Right.
it's just, yeah. And then my goal is always to go bigger and bigger till my director says, hey, too much. And then I'm like, okay, now I know what level I'm supposed to be at.
Sure. So you got to kind of over exaggerate the part until you find the reality
Yeah,
in
so
that.
that he's like, no, not real enough. Too farce, too farce. This is more, because
Sure.
it is funny and silly, but it is very real, So
Mhm.
it's a comedy, not too much a farce,
Sure.
and so yeah, that's just what is the funniest way I could say this line,
I mean
Go
that makes
all
sense though.
different types of inflections till I feel like I've hit it,
I mean, I feel like that makes sense though. Like you have to almost find where the edge of the like where the edge is before you can be like, okay, now we walk back. You know?
Yeah. And what I should pick your brain because I'm playing a reporter. And I'm like, "Oh, would an interviewer look at the camera at this moment, or would they, so that kind of thing." I'm
It's
like,
tough.
I could have used some insight, but I'm doing my
I know.
best.
I'm sure you're doing fantastic. Um, so as an actor, especially in a comedic role, I have to know what's harder, getting a laugh or sustaining one for an actor in a role like this.
Oh man, if you could sustain a laugh, that's where it is.
Okay,
Um, yeah, getting a laugh is tough. Sustaining a laugh, that's art. Like, and that's why when I had mentioned we had some audience members, and as the interview is happening, I just hear them giggling like the entire time through the interview because Dave and Liz are just so funny at what they play off of each other, and I'm just exasperated with everyone, so I'm playing more of the straight role, and but I just love hearing it and let them cook and let them go, and it's the it's the physical comedy and the facial expressions, and it's so quick too. Like the dialogue is really fast, and so you don't want to miss anything. Um, but hearing that sustained laugh building off of each word, they can't even catch a breath.
sure.
That's that's money. That's where you want to be. That's tough.
I could imagine. And you mentioned like it being fast paced. Do you feel like that's one of the biggest challenges to a show like this is just keeping up with the dialogue, almost keeping up with the words that are on the page?
Yes, honestly, and I think that's a big issue with community theater in general, and it's not the fault of the actors or the directors. It's just in community theater, you run for like 3 weekends, right? It always feels like as soon as you just really hit that rhythm, it's over, and you'll watch like a Broadway show that's been running for months, and you're like, they are so quick because they've done it so many times, and they're also probably like, let's get dinner,
Yeah,
I'm hungry, like,
correct.
I'm getting paid the same no matter how long this show runs. But
Correct.
it is, I find when I'm watching a lot of theater, I'm like, this pace needs to pick up. But a lot of times it's like, you know, people not knowing their lines well enough to be
Sure.
that fast, because they haven't done it as many times as Broadway has, and that's what and we've gotten that direction from Tony and Stefan, like, hey, faster, do it again but faster, do it again but faster. And one rehearsal they were like, there, that is how fast it needs to be, maybe even slow down a bit, or whatever.
Okay.
And so because we have, like I said, we kept saying, like, I think we could open tomorrow, like we're
Yeah.
2 weeks ahead or whatever, and it gives you that time to be that quick and pick up the pace. And honestly, it's really the actors did the work. Like, they learned their
Sure.
lines so that they could start making funny choices, because that is what this show is about. Um and and so it's all just very quick and coming together, and it's so nice to see.
Then one final question for you before I let you go is just what are you hoping audiences take away from the show?
I hope that audiences just, first of all, have a great time and laugh.
For sure.
I But I really hope that they come away with a sense of hope, a hope in
Okay.
this world, a hope, um, a belief in their government, that there are good candidates out there, because there are. There are good candidates out there who want to do the right thing, who aren't just like worried about getting reelected, um, who want to do good in this world and are super smart and have the right policies, and you just need to recognize that, and that yes, they would leave the theater with, like, democracy isn't dead. We're gonna be okay. You know, this
That's a
is
that's a
this
beautiful
still works.
message.
This country still works, right?
I love that message because I feel like, in today's society, it's really hard to sometimes keep that hope alive, And so this is just a moment to be like, yeah, like have a little levity with it, but also leave feeling that like it's not everything's hopeless.
Yes, and this isn't a partisan show either. So no matter what you believe, and really, we all want the same thing, really, everyone,
Mhm.
wants affordable health care, and they want to support public schools, and, we all want society to run smoothly and us all to get along. And I think people will leave with a sense of that possibility.
Perfect. Thank you so much for being here talking with me today. It's been such a pleasure getting to know you and this show that's coming.
Thank you, Brian. It's been a pleasure.
So, The Outsider arrives at Farmington Players on February 13th and runs to the 28th. So, get your tickets now and we'll see you at the show.
Yeah, take your Valentine.